Well, I'd like to say hello to my Order Your Steps audience. Hopefully, this is not your first visit with us. We are in the midst of the 2021 Moving Forward by Faith interview series. And I'd like to welcome Amber Brown.
Hi, thanks for having
You're
me.
so welcome. I appreciate you willingness to participate.
Anything for you.
Now, if in my audience, for my audience, if you've actually been able to see my first two videos, you know that it's all in the family. So we had my baby girl first, and then we had my oldest girl, and this is my daughter as well. She's my adopted daughter because she is one of the many young women in my church, God glorified,
I
that
don't know.
began to
I just
call
called
me
call
Ma
you mom.
Spade. Yeah, it was either Ma Spade or Mom, and so I'm proud to say that we have another daughter with us on today. So welcome.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Thank you.
so your topic for today is 30 something is or was not what I expected. So
That
tell
is
us
true.
so tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Amber Brown. I currently am an IT system engineer at District Photo in Beltsville, Maryland. I've been with District Photo since I graduated high school. I graduated in 2006, so I've been with District Photo since 2008. So 2 years after that, and I've been rolling with them going on 13 years now.
Literally
Uh,
rolling, right?
okay. And I'm currently married to Elder Timothy Brown. And we live in Baltimore, which is far away from all of our friends and family, but it's fine. Um, and that's about it about me. That's the basics.
Okay.
Tim, married to Tim, working at District Photo, and a member of God Glorified Church of God in Christ, my home base.
Okay. All righty. So, what prompted you to go into information technology? Rather challenging and dominantly male-dominated field. So, what took you there?
When I was younger, my mom brought me like one of those Logitech little computers. It just had a keyboard and a little tiny screen, and you could see and play on it. And she brought me this thing, and I was addicted to it. I would do all types of things. And before you know it, she noticed that I was coming up with my own hotkeys to get stuff got done. And so she's like, well, clearly this girl has a knack for things technical. So she upgraded me to at the time when HP's original name was Compact. And so
Oh,
she got me a compact computer and for Christmas. And I took the thing apart. It was welded shut.
okay.
It was welded shut, and I got it open some way, shape, or how with a pair of pliers or something else, and I took it apart and put it back together. My mind let me remember everything that I had taken apart and allowed me to put it back together, and it worked. And so since then, I've been fully immersed into the IT field. Math and science were always my strong suit. Even in high school, even though I hated high school altogether. But math and science, I excelled in those two fields, failed everything else, but went straight towards math and science. And later on, I started taking a computer class and excelled at that. So I was like, well, this seems like a valid career. And so I graduated from Parkdale High School in Riverdale, Maryland. And once I graduated, I said, well, what am I going to do with my life? Because originally I wasn't going to graduate because my GPA was so low. And so I said, well, what am I going to do with my life? And I ended up seeing a commercial for DeVry University, and I ended up contacting them, and I went in for an interview. And that's how I ended up at DeVry for 3 years. I never really obtained my college degree, but I excelled in all my classes until I left in 2008. Um, and so that's how I ended up in IT. And they kind of nurture you in that environment because you are a woman and you are in a male dominated field. I remember sitting in orientation at DeVry, and out of all the people there for different IT paths, it was like maybe three girls in a room full of teenage guys trying to get into the gaming world.
Oh, wow.
And I was the only girl who was interested in programming and engineering and software and stuff. Everybody else was either there for like networking or gaming development and stuff like that. So I ended up being the only girl coming into DeVry
Mm-hmm.
asking for that computer science, engineering, coding language stuff.
Wow. That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and it just took off from there. It got to a point where in one of my classes, I was teaching, helping the teacher teach. That we had to do like this lab on a computer, and
Uh-huh.
I finished mine in like 15 minutes or 20 minutes or so. And he said, well, get up and start helping other people. So I started roaming the room and helping other people get is situated, and he passed me because I was doing everybody else's work.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. So you've always had that knack.
Yeah, I've always had this, and I have to say I've always had this problem solving knack. Like, I am a true person who likes to problem solve.
Mm.
Um, to to take something that's broken and try to fix it. And so I'm always that person who's after that. And that's kind of what software engineering and development is all about. You're trying to fix a problem or an issue, and you're using code to get there. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And you have to really figure it out. Sometimes it could be as simple as like a backslash, or it can be something as simple as an equal sign in the wrong place. But it's up to you and your eye to kind of identify that and make it work. So I've always had a knack for it, and so this job really opened up my eyes and my expertise over the years um, to um, to that programming aspect and that troubleshooting aspect, because District Photo is probably the leader in digital printing. And when I joined District Photo, they were at the beginning stages of that digital printing world. And since then, they've grown into this multi-million dollar company. And sometimes it's hard to believe because when you see that little rinky-dink building on Route One, you're like, "That's a multi-million-dollar company." Like, yes.
Uh-huh.
And so, it's a challenge. It's a fast-moving environment. Things are always happening. Uh, Things are always growing and developing. And so, we are in a place I'm in a place where it's important to have really strong attention to detail.
Mm.
And that's just something that I naturally gravitate to.
Mhm.
So it's that's just what makes me. I love IT. I really do. So sometimes the people are too much, but I love what I do. I love that programming, that troubleshooting. It's broken. You're up all hours of the night trying to trying to fix up because
Mm-mm.
you're on call and you trying to
Mm-mm.
get back to bed, but it's like a rush and it's so enjoyable. I have to say
Wow.
it's so enjoyable, even though it gets on your nerves, your last nerves, but it's something that I absolutely love to do.
Well, you have to have been born with that because
Yeah.
I remember many years ago when I first uh, went into college and they introduction to computers was Fortran and COBOL, which was the language of the day. And
Hmm.
I was into my first programming exercise, and it was like, oh no, mm-mm, this is not what I'm born for. This is not my ministry. This is not my calling. I can't know. And so from that point on, obviously that was not my strong point. But you have to really be born that, and obviously that's a natural talent for you. In your bio, which I hope my audience at some point will take the time to learn a little bit more about you, and I'm looking it up so that I won't say it wrong. Um, you say you can't get mad at expected behavior, and it is a model that you've retained like all your life. What does that say to you, or how do you translate that to other people?
You know, Tim, he's so funny because he actually admires that statement about me. I don't have many expectations of people. And because of that, they don't like I tell my cousin this one time. I said, I don't have a high expectation for folks. All I expect for people to do is grow. That means evolve, change, do something. So if my expectation of you is to always that you grow, that you change or whatever, whether it be negative or positive, I can't get mad at you if you started yelling at me out of nowhere or something.
Okay.
I can't get upset with that because I don't have any expectations for
Oh,
you. It's the best way to sum that up is accepting people for where they currently are.
mhm.
And that's it. And you cannot I have literally gotten to a place in my walk where I'm just not easily affected by things that people have to say about me. And when I was younger, I got teased, in school. I got teased in high school. I didn't fit in. I had maybe one or two friends. And so, that carries over into your adulthood. And then when you become an adult, you kind of turn into this person who has this past trauma around, the teasing and the bullying and all of that other stuff. And so, things that, the sticks and stones may break my bones. Well, all my bones were broken,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't really engulf myself with the thoughts and opinions of other people. I love this saying where they said, I don't know who said it, but they said, your opinion of me is none of my business. And that's the
Okay.
truth. It is
Mm-hmm.
the truth. It's none of my business. What you think about me is none of my business. The only thing that I need to be concerned about is how I treat you. And so if I'm treating you the best of my ability and I'm treating you right, and I bring forth an energy that treats you correctly, then that's all that I'm going to focus on when it comes to people. And so that saying, Tim had said, was talking to me about something. He's had some friend or something like that. And again, this is somebody he's known for years, and they've done this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so And he said something. I said, well, you can't be mad at expected behavior. If this person showed you who they were then
Mhm.
most likely they are that same person today. Like, unless they've evolved or changed. And so all you can expect from people is evolution, for them to either evolve and grow up upward in their mind frame, or they'll either change. They'll change into somebody else or a worser person than they already are. And if you expect that type of change from people, you won't get disappointed, because you know that they're going to change one day. What that change looks like, you don't know, but that's the only expectation that you should have. And so I kind of live by that. I accept people for where they are in their life. I don't judge anybody. I don't have any false opinions about anybody. I just kind of, whatever you show me, I take it in, and that's okay with me. you know.
Yeah, that is an absolutely amazing philosophy. I mean, it's something that we all need to grasp
Mhm.
in so many ways because unfortunately with everybody's life on social media,
Mhm.
it's you're concerned about what people think about you. Well, what are they,
Right.
I got to show them that I'm better. And when you've grown up with the people trying to convince you that
Mhm.
you weren't good enough or you wasn't like you're supposed to be, that you say, well, at some point you say, well, okay, fine. If that's your opinion,
Yeah.
that's fine. But it also allows you to grow into who you are and being able to accept yourself the
Mhm.
way you are. And you start to love and appreciate who you are. And at that point, it doesn't matter whatever anyone else
Mhm.
expects or thinks of you because you know who you are. And
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
Like I tell all my friends to, expect me to change. That's the only. It's just I am going to change. I'm going to learn something new. In this season of COVID, I've gotten this love for cooking that I didn't know that.
Mhm.
I knew that I like to cook, but now I really love to cook. So now I've gone crazy and brought all these different kitchen devices and new
Uh-huh.
little things to put in my kitchen because now I have this love of cooking. And that's a change for me because, it'd be hard pressed to see me trying to cook something. I would be the first one to raise my hand. Are we ordering takeout tonight? But in this COVID world of, trying to protect my family and my health, I've had to cook more and I love it. I don't, I'm the running to the kitchen. I get off work, turn the computer and run to the kitchen and cook. And so I tell my friends to expect that from me. Expect me to be different. Expect me to not want to talk on the phone with you because I'd rather read a book.
Ah,
you
thank
know,
you. Yes.
expect me to just want to sit in silence sometime and be by myself. That's just me. It doesn't mean that I love you any less. It just
Hmm.
means that I want to change. I want to do something different. I I constantly go on fast from social media.
Ah,
I'll
thank
be
you.
on
Yes.
I'll be on heavy for like a month. And then all of a sudden I'm just gone off of it for like 2 months. And then I'm back on and I'm a heavy user. And I go through these cycles. And it's important for me to go through those cycles because that's just how I am. I'm changing all the time. I'm always teaching myself something, especially working in IT. You have to stay up to date
Yeah.
on what's going on because technology grows and changes every single day. Something that was popular yesterday, it won't be popular today. The biggest programming language was Python. When I started programming, Python was coming into the realm, and a little bit of C# was in there. Now Java and JavaScript and HTML and Sea shark's still out there, but it's, it's pulling from different areas. And so you have to stay up to date on those things. You can't let yourself become stagnant. The in the world today, security is a big deal. So,
Absolutely.
as soon as
Mhm.
security became an issue, I went out and got me a book because I need to know,
Yeah.
how that's going to affect my work going forward. Security is heavy, so just like with IT, I try to stay fresh. And if that means that I have to get off the internet to
Mm.
do that for a period of time, then that's more than worth it. And my friends have to ask me, "Well, are you on Facebook? Are you on Facebook this month?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm on Facebook." And they'd be like, "Oh, okay. Uh, well, let me show you such and such."
Uh-huh.
Because I'm like a free butterfly. I try to be, free to do, especially now. And that's what crossing over into 30 did for me. It changed my perspective because so many things changed in my life at the same time.
Mhm.
My mother passed away. I got diagnosed with heart failure. That was a challenge to deal with and manage medications and stuff like that. And so, when I crossed into 30, I was at a really
Wow.
low place in my life. I felt like my job hated me. I was just married and I was already depressed. And you think
Wow.
you got like 5 years in before you start throwing depression at your husband, but that's not him.
That's not what happened.
And you're going to church every Sunday and you're praying to God, asking Him to heal you. And you're not realizing that the answer that He's already sent the answer. You're just not taking advantage of it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
because you're still in the dark.
Yeah.
And crossing into 30 changed my life because it made me realize that life is short. Life is precious. And uh, I just want to do the things that I want to do and be the type of person that I want to be and not worry about other folks.
Mm.
And that's when I made a full transition of I don't care.
Yeah. Mm.
Once my mother died, I tell people that's the ultimate. That was my feelings being hurt to the max. That was like,
Yeah.
boom. If you want my feelings hurt, that hurt my feelings to the max. So there's nothing that anybody can do to me that's worse
Wow.
than that. And so I said, I got to live the way that I want to live. I have to find my happiness. I can't depend on not even my husband to bring my happiness to me. Sometimes I'll go in the room and pull out my Kindle thing and read um, like 4 or 5 chapters of a book, and I'll just lay in bed, light a candle, and be content. And if my phone rings, I won't look. I'll look at it and I won't answer. And it's all about just knowing you, finding your peace, finding your comfort. Stop trying to please everybody. I was a people pleaser.
Yeah. That's
Stretching
amazing. Yeah.
myself
Mm-hmm.
thin, trying to help other people. And that's just not where I want to be. And it doesn't mean that I love anybody any less. It just means that I love me a little bit more.
Yeah. That's. I mean, you've said it all. I mean, and I think we're some of us. Well, let me go back. When you mentioned 2020 and the onset of COVID and pandemic, I think throughout this year, if nothing more, we found out a lot more about ourselves.
And a
You
lot
know,
more about people you're married to, huh?
uh-huh. Those that live in the house with you,
Uh-huh.
absolutely, absolutely. And so, I think with that, not that it was less traumatic or easy or what have you, but there was a lot of things that we learned
Mm-hmm.
um, just about a lot of things during that time. And I think the more that we settle in to growing as a result of, like you said, is we start to learn more about each other because we're ever, not even about each other, about ourselves
Mm-hmm.
as well, because we're ever growing, ever evolving. And we should expect that growth and
Mm.
learning. And when you do that, it has to be on your own terms.
Yeah.
So if everybody, if you're going by somebody else's rule book, I think I read something about, don't let somebody else hold the pen to your life. It's like it's your
Mm-hmm.
life. Don't let somebody else hold the pen.
Right.
Nobody else should write that for you. You got to write that
Absolutely.
yourself.
Exactly.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's and one other thing before we move on is the fact that I think more as women now, I
Mm-hmm.
think we're coming to understand that we can't be all to everybody.
Yeah.
We've grown up, we've been taught, we've been reared that that's what you do. You're the
Mm-hmm.
nurturer. Yes, we're still a very much nurturer, but we're coming into understanding that at some point it's okay to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If we got our mind right and
Yes.
our life
Mm-hmm.
right, then we can feed it to others.
Yeah,
When
and
we're
not feel
depleted,
guilty about
thank you. When
it.
we're depleted and we continue to deplete ourselves and then wonder why we're irritable and we're getting
I
sick
love this
and
new
we're
culture, um,
depressed and
this new culture of self care. And you see it all around, all over the internet, and it's this culture of self care. People are actually beginning to take time for themselves.
yeah,
There's a lot of, if you go on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or something, you see a lot of people showing, these are my self care moments. They take bubble baths and da 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 da. And my self care stuff is mostly being alone. I love being by myself. And there's no offense to anybody else, but I like being by myself. That's self care for me. It's taking my mind off of the things going on in my life and absolutely focusing on what do you want to do next? What do you want to learn? What do you want to get into? Like, I make plans for myself. I start my year like this year. I hope to get at least 2 certifications for my job purposes. Personally, I'm hoping to change to learn a new language, a new programming language, and get into that. Personally, I want to spend more time with Tim.
okay.
And so it's just been, that self care culture. I absolutely love to see women who want to take
Mhm.
care of themselves. We're not born to be wives and you know caretakers and all that. We're human and we should be able to take care of ourselves. And so I just absolutely love to see a woman who can handle business all week long, but
Yes,
knows when to
yes,
turn it off,
yes.
step back, and say, "I'm gonna go get my nails done today.
There you go.
I'm
There
gonna
you
go.
go.
I'm gonna go to the hairstylist today. I'm getting my hair done." And that's important. That
Very
is
important.
so critical.
And as you've said, that the key though is not to feel guilty. It is not being selfish. It is doing
Hmm.
what you need to get done so that you can be there for all those other folks that's in your life.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you were settled in your career pursuits, and then in 2015 or so, something very interesting happened, which you kind of alluded to. But I would love for you to share your love story, especially the engagement announcement. I got a
Uh,
big kick out of that one. I really
it's
did.
so funny. We were just talking about this today. Funny enough, um, you know, me and Tim were working. on stuff for the music department. And so, we went out to dinner. It was me, him, and Lorraine, and we went out to dinner. And that was my first introduction to Tim outside of the church. And in my mind, I honestly thought that we were just going to have this brother and sister relationship. I did not expect to be now in here 2021 married and building life together. I really saw him as nothing more than a friend. And so we finally came to terms with how our introduction happened, because he continues to think that I used to do these drive-bys. And I was like, because after church, everybody swarms to the piano and they settle there, they talk to him, blah, blah, blah. So I said, I would go over there, give him a hug, say hello, because I thought that was just polite. And apparently Tim was reading into it all wrong and thinking that I liked him. And I was like, I wasn't thinking that. I was just being polite. And I remember why I went over there and did that, because some other member, she came up to the piano and gave him a hug, asked him how he was doing and stuff, and walked away. So I said, oh, well, I can do the same, be nice. I'm a hugger. Let's go. And so it was one of those Sundays after church, and we were outside. Spring had just broke, right? Winter had just left. It was the first Sunday. It was spring. It was nice outside. So we were all outside talking about football, and we were going in about the Eagles and the Cowboys and stuff. And me and Tim sat on the front steps of the church. And you could tell that at some point, everyone else around us kind of disappeared. And it was just me and him in our own little place. And sometimes we'll come out of that place to communicate with those around us, but we were just in our own little zone. And that's when I walked away from that going, crap. I think I've got myself into something. And so he called me up one day and he said, what are you doing tonight? I said, nothing really. I'm about to just go in the house. And he said, well, come over, let's order some sushi. And I was like, you can order sushi? I was just amazed by that. And he said he could order sushi. And we ordered sushi. We watched a movie. We sat there, laughed, and talked for hours. And then finally, I go home and I'm like, crap, I did it again. So we started unofficially dating. At that point, unofficially. But, at the time, Tim was in another relationship with another woman. And so I told Tim, I said, well, I don't want to step on somebody else's toes. Because if you're in a situation, I don't want to interfere with that. And Tim said, okay, that's fine. And I say 2 days later, he tells me I ended that situation.
Well,
because I want to be with you. And I said, oh. And then again, I said, crap. So now for months, we're in this secret relationship. I didn't tell anybody. And I only told my best friend who lives in North Carolina, and I never gave her his name. I just said that I was dating this guy, and I asked her for advice, and she was like, well, what's his name? I was like, I can't tell you that because it's a secret.
Wow.
And so, I went to, it was December of 2015. I had to go to Phoenix for work. And I was in Phoenix for 10 days. And every day, every morning I woke up, because we were on different time zones. We were like 3 hours apart. And every day I woke up to a voicemail from Tim singing his sweet nothings on on my voicemail. And I was like, oh God, this girl is schmitting at this point. And I said, and I said to the Lord, I said, what do you want me to do about this? What is happening here?
Yeah.
He was like, just wait. And then so on Christmas, we weren't together on Thanksgiving, but Christmas we decided to hang out together, because it was Christmas and we hadn't spent Thanksgiving together. And so we said we were going to exchange gifts, and I was like, okay. And I brought him like a tie and some socks or something. And he sends me on a scavenger hunt through the house. And finally, in the canister in the kitchen is this little box. And I'm like, what is this? And I open it, and he says, it's a poem that he wrote in there along with the ring. And he's like, will you marry me? And I said, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And so, I was like, crap.
Once again.
Well, here we are. So now I got to tell everybody, right? So I called my mom. I said, Mom, I'm engaged. Tim has asked me to marry him. And she's like, ah! She's like super excited. So I text my brother because he didn't care either way. He cared, but whatever.
Yeah.
And so then we were like, okay, we texted people that were important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tim was like, let's throw the rest of the people into a frenzy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I said, okay, well, what are you thinking? So I said, well, let's just put on our Facebooks that we're engaged at the same time, but not say who we're engaged to. And when I tell you, it blew up. It blew. We were like overwhelmed. People was calling me, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. You're engaged. Who is it?
That was, I was among those. And so it was like,
wait a minute.
Yeah. And and it's like, and of course, and I'm not on Facebook like that. I mean, I think the only reason why I got on Facebook was because of my business. And so, but it happened on that particular moment. I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and it's like,
everyone is like losing it. Who is this? And then who had it, got it like early was Charlie Brown.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
He's the one who put a comment, are you and Tim engaged to each other? And me and Tim are like hysterically laughing. Because you had some that were like, congratulations, and others that were like, what is going on here?
Nobody had a clue. I mean, I didn't have a clue.
Well, let me tell you, the Holy Ghost told a few people before we made it official. The Holy Ghost had snuck up and surprised us a couple times with a few people. One of them being Sabina Williams. She just walked up to us and said, you guys look good together. And I was like, bye. I went running in the opposite direction. And another one was Elder Bess. He was like, I knew already. And I was like, okay. But everybody else was shocked.
Wow. I can imagine it being those two.
That was so funny. It was so funny, but I tell you what, it revealed a lot about some folks that we needed to get rid of in our life.
Oh, wow.
Because sometimes, some folks were just not, they pretended to be happy, but they weren't truly happy. Everybody else was super excited about it. And I was super excited about it too.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it was the boom that nobody expected.
Definitely.
And little did they know we had been dating the entire year of 2015 almost. And they had no idea. And so people just figured that, this happened so fast, but really from like early 2015
Mhm.
until 2020, until not 2020, until that day, we have been dating. And
Mhm.
so it was an interesting experience to say the least.
I think you hit on another good point too, because when you enter a new season of life, you find that there are people that come into your life, and there are people that are going to have to go because they can't go into that new season with you, and
Yes.
that's can be a rude awakening at times, but you know it has to be done. So
I think through that season of leading up to our actual wedding day, I I learned a lot about myself.
mhm.
One thing about musicians in general, musicians, they have a lot. They can have a lot of groupies.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And I'm a woman who didn't hang around a lot of guys. I had a before I met Tim, I had a boyfriend for a long, long time. We had ended things about 2 years prior to when I started dating Tim. And I was just kind of, I have to say, I was just kind of like, okay, when these women just,
Mm,
you have to be okay with what you are in that relationship. And I
absolutely.
told Tim off the break, I'm not going to give you my representative. I'm going to give you who I am.
Oh,
You can
wow.
take it or leave it. Now, if you don't like it, let me know. If you want to dip out on somebody and cheat on me or whatnot, let me know. But don't string me along because I don't accept it. One mistake and I'm out the door.
Wow. Wow. That makes
I
it
was like,
plain. Yeah.
yeah, because you have to be very clear with what you want. And you can't, I feel like, especially in any relationship, I'm clear with what I expect at that point. I knew I wasn't going to take any type of cheating and lying and any of that. It's like I don't live like that. I wouldn't lie to you. I don't want you to lie to me. Tell me the
Mhm.
truth.
Yeah.
If Tim was to wake up tomorrow and say, Amber, I don't want to be married to you anymore, I'd be like, well, thank you for your honesty. Goodbye.
Yeah. 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 Well, you have to put it out there. I mean, don't
Yeah, you have to
assume
make it
that the
plain.
other person, understands because, well, it's only reasonable to expect. It's like, no, you need to say it so that there's
Yeah,
an adequate understanding.
be clear.
Okay. I think you may have answered the rest. I don't know if you want to add anything to it. So now that you're here and you're 30 something, you have a rather challenging career. You're
Yes,
married to an elder, and
yes,
you have a growing ministry.
yes.
Um, how do you do it?
I
And
am
what would you tell others that's
Jesus
attempting to
Christ.
do this?
Jesus Christ. I had to, because sometimes it's really hard. Tim is a minister not only in song but in word. And so, before the pandemic, we were at somebody's church almost every weekend. We were either singing, preaching, studying, doing some back and forth, taking, road trips, and we were either doing something for our home church or doing this and that. And, you know, I think the pandemic came and I was like, thank God. I can get a break.
Gotcha.
But then it became this virtual thing. So
Mhm.
now, Tim's ministering virtually and doing studies and blah, blah, blah. And so now it's just a different type of busy. And now it's just happening from behind the computer screen. And
Mhm.
then on top of that, I've moved into a semi management role with the company. So I'm in charge of an entire department and two people. So
Wow.
now I have to manage tasks in that way, something that I've never done before. And then on top of that, be a wife that cooks dinner and washes clothes and you know, make sure that we're surviving and managing our budget. I found so much joy in managing our budget. You know, I, we started the pandemic with no budget, and now we have this beautiful budget that I just absolutely love. I have so much joy in managing the budget. And so, you know, I believe it's about taking time to, if I do something, I want to do it right. I don't want to do anything haphazard. And I'm learning, and you know, I got a therapist because after my mom's death, it was just really difficult to deal with my emotions. But I'm learning that I'm only one person.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And you
yeah.
know, sometimes you have to say no.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. Not because, and you know, I had an opportunity come past me a couple weeks ago and I turned it down. Why? Because my plate is full, it is overflowing, and I'm fine with what I have right now. And I'm okay with walking away from an opportunity because I always say if God opens the door and it's something that you, if the door is open and you can't walk through it, the window is going the window is
Wow,
going to
yes.
come, or you can just praise him in the hallway. I
Oh
mean,
my,
while you
my.
wait on the next thing. And so, you know, I just I never take an opportunity loss. I always say if you need me as an advisor, I will help you. But if you want me to do something, it's a no for me. And you
Yeah.
just have to be honest. I looked at, you know, we keep a very tight calendar. We have, you know, study 2 times a week. We have, well, actually 3 times a week, we are studying the Bible. We make time to Bible study together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, me and Tim went through our own personal study of Revelations, just cause.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I had a question and it blossomed into us taking a Wednesday of every week and studying Revelations together. On top of that, having my personal space. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm married, but I'm also Amber. You know, I'm not always Tim's wife. so
Yeah, say
so
that. Uh-huh.
I need to take my personal time. So Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes Sunday evenings are just my time to be with myself. And I take that time. And I don't do nothing for the church or anything else.
Anybody else? Yes.
And you just have to. And I balance my life around that. And if I have to say no to something, I will. and
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of opportunities that could come my way that I'm gonna say absolutely to. And I'll have to rearrange this calendar at a later date. But I would only say yes if I can fully and truly dedicate my time to it and
Mm-hmm.
it be great. So,
Awesome.
you know, now I work with the media ministry and social media platforms for God Glorified. And it's an interesting place for me, seeing as I constantly am fasting from social media myself to now having to log in and, you
Yeah.
know, engage people on the social media of the church. So that's been interesting. And, you know, Tim is always ministering. We're always studying the word in some way, shape, or form, managing Zoom meetings for the church. And then on top of that, working a full time job.
Yeah, yeah, well. And you're still
so,
just one person. Yeah, I hear you.
and I'm only one person. And all I can do to keep myself healthy and sane is be willing to turn down some opportunities and only taking on what I feel I'm comfortable with. Not every project is for me. Not every
Mm-hmm.
project needs me, you know. And so I just have to, you know when to say enough is enough. And that's how it's managed.
That well, I tell you, that was I've enjoyed this immensely. I mean, I could let you just talk forever. Yeah, because I just like to hear it, and there's a lot. Um, I know a lot more about you just in this conversation. I knew a lot of it already.
Uh-huh.
Um, Probably more than you think I know, because I think there's always been that connection with us that before we
Uh-huh.
knew there was one.
Yes.
But I definitely have enjoyed this time with you, and I'm sure my audience has as well.
You know,
Um,
if it just helps of one person to see that, life is, even in your 30s, it's not that bad. People feel like when they turn 30, they old. And I was like, I feel like I've opened up myself more in my 30s than I ever have in my life. I've experienced the most trauma, but the most beautiful moments in my 30s. And so if a woman out there just hears my story and it uplifts her to go about her journey and set her own rules, then it's more than worth it. I enjoy helping people understand and get through life. It could be, it's so much that I would love to share with others, but I just ain't got time.
you still have to
but
know when to say no. I got
but I appreciate this opportunity to sit down with you, because like you said, I can talk to you for hours about everything on my mind. So I greatly appreciate this opportunity to share with your audience, you know, my journey in my life and how interesting it is. And how I balance some of these complex situations that I find myself in. So I am very appreciative.
Well, thank you. That is the perfect closing to our interview. I think that, those words of wisdom to my listening audience is more than I could have ever asked for.
I love you
But
so much.
I love you too. I love you too. So, to my audio steps audience, I hope that you enjoyed. I hope you will continue to listen and watch our videos. I hope that you would also share. Everyone has a story. And we're hoping that you will comment and actually actively participate with us. Always remember, your steps are ordered, and just keep moving forward by faith. Thank you so much.